Hey everybody, it's Bryan, and you are listening to the Course Building Secrets podcast. Whether you're a coach or a CEO, the success of your team and clients is based on your ability to deliver a consistent experience and guide them on the fastest path to results. This podcast will give you practical, real-life tips that you can use today to build your online experiences that get results and create raving fans. Why? So you can monetize your expertise and serve more people without adding more time or team to your business. If you're looking to uncover your $1 million framework, package it, and use it to scale, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Hey everybody, welcome to today's episode of the Course Building Secrets podcast. I am thrilled that you are here today. Hey, in this episode, I want to break down a launch that I just was watching for one of the big kind of people in the industry who is selling how to take your expertise, your service-based business, your knowledge, and turn it into a viable online business. And he did a great job. This is not knocking his approach at all. But I want to break down actually what's happening in a launch like this from the customer's perspective, so you can see, like, when you're getting in this game and you're getting started, I want to just break down a couple of the realities that you're going to see and give you a 6-step framework for how you can get started in the best way that gives you the most confidence, that will give you the ability to actually help your customers and not just wing it, and allows you to get in the game and play a sustainable long-term game and not just be a flash in the pan. So I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about that today because I think that it's something that when you're first starting, you don't necessarily understand, right? Like, you're super excited about getting started. You're going to have some initial success with the people that are kind of already in your world who know, like, and trust you. But there's a huge sort of gap between that moment and creating a sustainable business. And one of the things that we do all the time is we take sort of a consultative approach to helping you actually create a scalable and sustainable business that cuts through kind of all of the gloss and stuff that you don't actually see when you're looking at the reality of what happens. So I want to break that down for anyone who's sort of in this scenario where you're like, okay, so I'm not really sure what this looks like. I'm not really sure how to go from here to there and all of the different things. Okay, so I'm watching this launch. I call it a cooking show launch. Every single time somebody does a launch, understand that what they're doing is that they are providing you with the and painting the picture of the dream, right? And so the goal at the end of any type of training or presentation or launch or anything that somebody is doing is obviously to get you to take the next step. And so what they're doing is they're painting the picture of what's possible in the future. They're painting the picture of what it looks like when you have gone from maybe that problem or that dream that you have to an outcome or reality. So they're painting that picture. They're showing you that it's possible. They're trying to get you to take action, which is amazing, right? Everyone needs to be able to know that their dreams can become a reality, and so I think that launches are amazing, right? But when you're selling something, just know that, like, your whole goal in selling is to get somebody to take action, right? To get somebody to believe that they too can be a part of something. It doesn't matter what you're selling. And so just realize when you're going to a launch or you're going to a webinar or you're going to something, that their goal is to get you to take the next step so that they can help you in whatever capacity that is. Now, we can argue all day long that there are some people who have great intentions and some that don't have great intentions. But that is not the point. The point is that, like, the dream or the possibility that there's a solution to a problem that somebody has is the reason why launches are successful, right? So just first, I want you to just recognize that no one is trying to sell you something behind your back or to be swarmy about it or whatever else, right? Like that is the intention. If you're going to one of these launches and you don't think that that's the intention, well, that's a whole different conversation. But so in a launch or in a training or whatever it is, when you know that someone's presenting you a solution to the problem that you have, their goal obviously is to paint a picture of a better future, is to paint a picture that it's possible to make a difference, that they're painting the picture and showing you examples of people that they've worked with or other people that are out there who have actually gotten to that outcome or that result. That's amazing. That is exactly what it is intended for, and that's the whole thing. So he did an amazing job of doing that. Now, as he was doing that, there were two main things I want to talk about today. One is the cooking show guru scenario, which is, so if you have ever watched a cooking show, what happens is they have all the ingredients already nicely, in the little bowls or already all measured out, and they dump them in a big bowl and they mix it up, and then they put it in the pan, and then they go for a commercial break, and they come back and they take out the perfect, finished baking thing or dessert or whatever it is it's turning into, and it looks amazing, right? But they've skipped all the different steps. Like, you're not watching, what's actually happening when it's cooking. You're not actually watching when they're buying the ingredients. There's just like pieces and parts that are missing. And that's what's happening in a training or a launch, is that they're painting the picture of what's possible, but there's pieces and parts that are missing along the journey. Again, you go through that as you are learning and taking action, which is the next step that they're helping you with, right? So just recognize that you're in a cooking show scenario where they're showing you the simplest kind of pieces that lead to the outcome. They're not showing you all of the things that are happening as you're going. And the second thing that this person did really well was that they gave all of the steps, right? But they sort of glossed over them, like the cooking show guru scenario. But the other thing is giving somebody a quick win. There's nothing like getting in momentum to getting a quick win that allows you to go, oh, okay, this is possible. Like, I can do this. This is great. So his quick win was to help people get their first customer. Again, totally valid. And that's awesome. Get your first customer, get some sales in the door, and then start moving forward with whatever it is that you're going to do to fulfill on the promise that you made for those people you just sold. And so that being the micro win he is trying to get people to do in this launch that he's doing is amazing. However, what I want to do is sort of expose the dark side of that, because what tends to happen is there's there's probably three different types of people. The first person is they already have so much momentum, and they have people who are asking them to help them, and they kind of have all the parts and pieces all together, but they just haven't, asked people to come into their world so they can help them, right? So they're just sort of primed and ready to go. They just need that final push to start asking for people to come into their world. And so those people tend to be the ones who are on there going, oh yeah, I just got 10 people, or I got 5 people, or I have 20 new customers. Like, crazy how that happens. They're already primed and ready to go. And all they needed to do was pull the trigger. There's that person. Then the second type of person is the one who hasn't necessarily gotten all the parts and pieces together, and is able to just sort of lob something out to a list or a customer base, like, hey, I have an idea. I want to, see if this is viable. Go buy my thing. And so they're a little bit different than the person who's like just sort of been hiding and waiting for people, to ask people for a sale. this person is sort of like in that middle ground of they don't really have anything. They don't really have kind of all the, like anything to offer, but they are going to take imperfect action and just ask for a sale. Now, this is great. It's awesome to take imperfect action. Don't get me wrong. Do not like create all of your things before you launch. But what I want to do is just expose to you what happens is that your people are actually not going to buy from you when you're like, hey, I have an idea. Let's co-create it together. Like, it's going to be great. No, people don't want that. They're not actually going to give you money for that, right? Some may, right? People who trust you and know you already. But that number is very small, and it's only going to happen one time. It's going to happen with the people who are already your super fans, who will do whatever it is that you ask them to do because they know that you are legit and that you are going to do whatever it takes to get them results. Those people may buy from you, and you may be able to co-create with them. But it's because you already have some type of authority that you've already built up, right? Like, you already have some proof that you can help people get results, right? It's not like, hey, just like, I'm just starting from scratch and I want you to, come in and buy something from me and I don't really know what I'm doing, but like, it's going to be great, right? Like, the reality is that's not going to happen for 99% of the people that are out there. And again, the only reason it would happen is because you already have some authority. You already have some sort of something that you have created that people already know that you can get them a result. So if you're brand new to this game, I'm going to share with you the 6 steps that you can use to get started before you do that kind of a launch in order to get the not only the first people who will go into your beta test, but also start to build momentum towards building a real business. Okay, because the third option or the third type of person is that person who's just getting started and they just don't know what they don't know yet, right? Like, they just want to help people and they don't have anything necessarily defined. Okay, so regardless of where you may fall with this, during this launch, you could see the people who were kind of in each camp and what they were doing. The challenge that I would throw out there with this person is they did go through all the steps of like, here are the things you need to do before you go out and do that with your actual customers or prospects or whoever else you can come up with who's going to come into that first beta launch. But again, the goal was to get customers. So once you have the customers, now the problem becomes like, how do you fulfill on that promise? And so people get all wrapped up, around the axle with like, how do I deliver? So they either over deliver, like just give them a bunch of stuff, or they do what I just said, which is like, okay, guys, like, what do we want to learn? What would be valuable for you? And neither approach is actually going to work for you. And you're going to end up either having them ask for their money back, you spending all of your time trying to figure out what the heck to put in there, or you put in a bunch of junk and eventually it just becomes a hot mess of a junk drawer because nobody navigates through that. And then you end up just going back to one-on-one or whatever else what you were doing because you're like, this doesn't work. And it's not that it doesn't work, but you have to launch from the right foundation. And so that's what I want to spend the rest of the time talking about is like, what are the 6 steps that you can use before you take imperfect action, right? We're still not going to build a bunch of stuff. We don't need a funnel. You don't need a lot of complicated tech. You don't need to, create your entire program or curriculum or whatever it is that you're doing. But you have to start with owning your signature methodology, owning your own method for how you help people. And this, my friends, will set you free. So regardless if you already have a business or you're starting your business or you just really want to take what your expertise is and help other people, there's actually a methodology that you need to use to own your approach before you move forward, right? This answers the question of like, well, why would people pay me when there's so much information out there already, right? Like they can go to YouTube and they can do this and they can do that. People pay you because you have a method that gets them from point A to point B, right? And so when you define your method, when you name your method and you go out and you say, hey, my name is Tara Bryan and I have the infinite scale method, that helps people, one, identify whether or not they're a good fit for what your methodology is, for how you're going to guide them, not how you're going to deliver it, but the actual path that you're going to give them to go from point A to point B, right? You know that as you're building a business, whether you're a coach, whether you're an expert, whether you're a consultant, however you're showing up to help customers, is that they're coming to you because you have the solution and the way to get them to a solution that's the fastest path, that is a proven path, that gives you that ability to show up with confidence and say, here's how I help you get from point A to point B. And that signature methodology, that way that you approach the problem to the solution, is the way that is going to give you that credibility and authority so that you can start helping people. All of that has to happen first. Now, that doesn't mean like you have to have this whole thing built, you've got to have it all figured out. No, you have to just define how you help people go from the problem that they have to the result that they're looking for, right? To that outcome. So consider like if you, a lot of times I think people get confused when, not confused. I think people get, they forget that on the other side of an online business are humans, right? So if you are used to having a brick and mortar business, if you are doing consulting where you're showing up and helping people in the room, it's very clear that when people are staring at you, you need to know what you're doing, right? You need to be able to guide them down some sort of path so that they have a reason to hire you, have a reason to listen to you, have a reason to work with you, right? Like you would never show up at a pitch at a company that you are trying to get work from and be like, hey, just hire me because like, we're going to co-create this together. Please, nobody would hire you, right? But we tend to forget that on the other end of the camera, on the lens, are real humans, right? And it's the same concept. You would never walk into a CEO's office or a business owner's office and be like, hey, yeah, I think you should hire me because I'm awesome. And this guru told me I just needed to put out an email that said, hey, I have an idea. Come on in to my world and give me some money. No, it doesn't work that way. Come on now. So it's the exact things, same thing. So how do you help people? So here are the 6 steps. The first one is, of course, you need to find who it is that you're going to want to be working with, like one person, one avatar. So if you want to work with coaches, great. Coaches are your one avatar. If you want to work with dentists, great. Work with dentists. But identify your one avatar so that you know exactly the problem you're solving and the tangible solution that you can give them, right? And that is 2 and 3, is what is the problem that they're having? Like, what is it that they're trying to fix or change about where they are today? So define that problem as clearly as possible. And then you're going to come up with like, what's the tangible outcome? What are they looking to get at the end, right? Like, what's the solution? What is that thing? And make it as tangible and specific as possible. Like acquiring knowledge or being better at something or, something super vague is not actually going to is not a tangible outcome. In order for you to be successful in this game, you need one avatar, one problem, and one solution. We call this the power of one, and really having clarity on that one problem and that one result. Now, this is where people are like, oh my gosh, I can't help one person. I can help everybody with what I do. And I have so many problems I can solve and like all the things. Great. That's awesome. Start with one, right? What you want to do is look at your overarching philosophy or how you show up, right? So just pick one, and that is the platform that you're going to stand on as you move forward. You have to have clarity. You have to be able to clearly define the problem and paint the picture of the solution, or you're dead in the water, especially in this day and age. And so just like define whatever that is for you and start there. Okay, so once you've done that, then the next step, which is step number 4, is that your goal is to create the bridge from that problem to the solution, right? So people are starting at point A and they want to get to point B. What they're going to do is the reason that they're going to hire you is because you have the fastest path to get from point A to point B. Define that, write that out. Usually it's in phases. And then within the phases are steps, right? But brainstorm what that looks like. Like, what are the 5 to 7 steps that somebody needs to take to get from point A to point B? So sometimes that means you have to look a little bit higher up to come up with like what's the higher level step that takes them on that journey from point A to point B. So it's not about a topic. It's really about the journey that person is going on. Like, what do they need to do first? Okay, great. So they've done that. Now what's the next thing that they need to do? Then the next thing that they need to do. Then the next thing. Because the goal is to scooch them from point A to point B, right? From that problem to that transformation, to that resolution or solution or whatever you want to call it over here, right? That outcome. And so as you're doing that, like they're taking action and actually physically moving, right? So what are those steps? Spend some time defining those, brainstorm those out. For those of you who already have businesses, you probably already know this. For those of you who don't, or you're trying to figure it out, and or you have an expertise and you haven't quite kind of identified that yet, just know that every industry has some sort of standard methodology that they use as the stepping stone for how that process works, right? So I know learning and development has one, marketing has one, sales has one. There's a million different industries. Each one has a standard methodology. If you can't find one in your niche, great. Then go to a different one, look at what their standard is, and then use that as your base to start kind of framing out like, okay, so how would I do this? How would I help them get from here to here? Most people, all people, when you go out and you don't know how to do something and you go out to Google and you try and figure it out, you end up in this giant rabbit hole, right? And you're taking the steps and you're doing them out of order and you don't know what's going on and you get overwhelmed. And so you don't go forward. Your job in this business is to give them that clear path so that it stops all that overwhelm, stops all that madness, right? That's your goal in this step, is to define that. Okay, then the 5th step is to give it a name. And what I recommend is you say the and then blank method and come up with whatever that is, whatever you want to call it. There's a whole methodology behind, like, how do you pick that name? How do you make sure it's clear and future focused and really is something that is powerful? But what I want you to do right now is just give it a name. It doesn't matter what it is. Just call it the whatever method and then put your little trademark at the top, because what this does is it actually makes it into something that's tangible and something that's real. Immediately, this increases your authority and credibility in the market because people are seeing that you have something that actually has some meat to it, right? It's not just like, I'm just like making some videos on my yacht and putting them into a course and, you should pay me for that. No, right? You're leading from like, here is my proprietary methodology, my method for how I help you become successful or reach this outcome or whatever else it is you want to say about it. And so that piece will come with time. That process will come with time, and you can perfect that. But give it a name. Just like, even if it's just a tentative name that you're using to put this package together. And so then that you can use that to start testing. Then the last step is just make it visual, right? So for me, everyone who is in my world will laugh, but what I do is I'm like, just create boxes, right? Put the problem on one side, the solution on another side, draw a horizontal line, and then just make boxes for the steps. That is enough of a visual representation of your method for you to get started. It provides you a map, provides your people a map, and it gives you some structure for when you go out and you say, hey, I have this new thing that I'm trying. I'm going to deliver it in this way, but here's the methodology. And I know that this methodology works because it's worked for me, it's worked for other people, right? Because it's an actual thing that you're talking about versus, hey, I got some topics, or I've got some information I want to throw into a membership site, or I want to throw into a course or program, or however else you want to define it, right? It instantly helps you go out into the market and explain what you have and what you do. It instantly allows you to help people drive towards an outcome because you're just following the path, right? And it's the essential piece that you need to start building a scalable business. Once you have that, you can deliver your signature methodology in a million different ways, right? You could write a book, you can deliver it as a program, you can have it be one-on-one coaching, you can have it be consulting, like you can do it however you want, but you own your methodology, which instantly gives you that authority and credibility for yourself and for other people. So going back to this launch that I watched, like he did explain that, right? It just was a small piece that was sort of skipped past. And based on what I saw in all the comments, 90% of the people missed it. Like they just it was something that they were just focused on that sale and getting that sale. If they would have married this, having their own signature methodology and the sale, they would be unstoppable. But there's a huge gap between getting a sale and keeping your customers and being able to do a sale over and over and over and over again to get to the actual goals that you have when you're starting this business. And so my dream, my hope, my goal for everyone who's listening to this is that you stop sort of having rose-colored glasses when you're getting started and start with your own approach. Be really confident in your own approach. And then go out and start testing it with the market. Get some people to go through your approach. Then you're going to iterate it. They're going to change it. Maybe those steps will change a little bit. Maybe what you call them will change. Maybe the detail underneath the steps, how you're kind of helping somebody or teaching them or whatever you're doing underneath the steps, right? Like when you get into the detail, all of that will probably change as you help more people. But starting with that framework allows you to get in the game with a clear, real, tangible set of tools that you're going to be able to help your customers with so that you can get them results. That is a way that's going to help you become successful right out of the gate. And you know what? You can also use this methodology for your one-on-one clients. So if you're still, just operating in a one-on-one capacity, this is going to set you free because it's the thing that if you can do consistently, you can start to package in lots of different ways. So there you go. That is my tip for you today is really look at the 6 steps to setting up your own signature methodology, owning your intellectual property, owning your unique approach for how you show up and help your customers. If you do that, that is the beginning step that actually helps you build a scalable business. if you're interested in taking a deep dive in terms of like, how do I do this? How do I validate that what I'm creating is actually working, or you're kind of stuck in the muck of it, and it's really hard to get it out of your head, which, by the way, is super normal. Give me a shout. This is what we do with our customers and our private clients all the time, because it's a simple activity, but it is not easy, especially if you're used to helping everyone and you love solving a million problems. That level of focus and the power of one is sometimes challenging to sort of unravel. And again, this is what we do every single day. So in the show notes, in the wherever you're watching this, in YouTube or whatever, my information is there. Schedule some time with me and let's talk about how we can help you get there, to package your own proprietary methodology. And then we can look at like, what are the ways that you ultimately want to show up to make this into a scalable business model? But it all starts here. All right, there you go. Have a great day.
Hey everybody, are you a business owner ready to streamline and scale your business? Imagine solving the biggest business challenges with clarity, a strategy, and a clear plan. Hey, I'm Bryan, and I want to invite you to take the first step towards transforming your business with a free 30-minute discovery call. This call is an opportunity to discuss your goals, identify key challenges, and learn how my mentorship program can help you achieve the success you're aiming for. In just a half hour, we'll explore how you can scale your business by enhancing your authority strategy, engagement strategy, and retention strategy. You'll get personalized advice and a clear path forward. Ready to take the first step? Click on the link below that's in the show notes to book your free discovery call now. I hope to talk to you soon.